This is Singles Exchange. Let's talk, let's hang. This is Singles Exchange. Singles Exchange.
All right, welcome back to Singles Exchange, a podcast that focuses on conversations, connections, and community. As always, I am your host, Joy J, and we have another super exciting episode in our discourse on dating. Before we get started, you know the drill. If you're a frequent listener, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Singles Exchange on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and whatever your podcast streaming platform is. Also, if you have not already, go to the Singles Exchange Facebook page and order your shirt because shirts are in. And once these are gone, we're going to do a totally different design, so you don't want to miss the OG shirt. With that being said, we're going to hop right into our topic today. Today's installment in Discourse on Dating is called Dating with Degrees. So, when we started talking about this episode, I had a couple in mind, and the staff was like, that doesn't sound like their story really suits what you want to talk about. And I was like, okay, well, who do you have in mind? And these lovely people came to the table and we sent out some info. We asked them to join us. And so we're happy to have Alexcia and Lorenzo here with us today.
Hey
And before
y'all.
we get started, we're just going to go ahead and let them tell a little bit about themselves.
All right, I'll go first. My name is Alexcia Bryant. I am a senior at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. My major, right? My major is exercise science with an interest in occupational therapy. I will be graduating spring 21.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lorenzo Nelson. I'm also a senior at SIUE. My major is computer engineering. With a minor in computer science. So, just trying to get there. Also graduating in the spring of 2021.
Ooh, you're almost there, okay?
Yeah.
I can tell you, SIUE is my alma mater as well. So I know that last semester is just like, get me out of here. You're almost at the finish line, and it's going to be worth it. So thank y'all again for joining us today. And really, I just want to talk about education. So in this discourse on dating so far, we talked about dating while damaged, dating after divorce, dating after I do. We talked about a lot of aspects of dating, but we haven't really covered education. And for me, education is super important. I currently work in the education field, so I definitely think that it's worth discussing, especially when two people are trying to get degrees. So, before we get into your education, how did you guys meet? Tell us a little bit about your background story, how you met, how you started dating.
You want to tell the story? Want me to tell the story?
So my home church and her home church were really, really tight.
Nice.
So we met just passing at church services.
Right.
And then one Sunday, her pops was getting installed at his own church. My family came up to support. It just so happened to be her birthday, and I hit her with a corny line, and she won't let me forget it to this day.
No, it blew me. Like, who is this country boy trying to talk to me? I'm a girl from the city. He from a small town in the country. No, this ain't gonna work for me. I'm good where I am. No. This is what my initial thought was.
Ultimately, it planted my seed.
I was about to say, clearly it worked.
Like,
real funny, we were moving into the dorms freshman year. We just so happened to be moving into the same dorm.
at the same time.
Nice.
I stayed on the same floor.
So,
Nice.
No,
Ooh, I
like
remember
this
those
was,
days.
see, like my whole intent at the time was to avoid him because see, I thought he was a goody two shoes, and I ain't want him in my business going back telling everybody at my home church what I'm doing. So my whole thing was, I'm gonna try to dodge him when I can, and then the minute I pull up, I'm like, I know that's not him unloading the van. And we connected that day, and we've been he became my friend, and then we've been together ever since.
Pretty much.
That is what's up. Now that's funny. I know being a church kid and being a part of the gospel choir, there have definitely been some times where I've popped up at workshop and seen other church kids and I'm like, don't be out here telling my business now.
Right, right.
So yes, I get it. So moving on to talk a little bit about your education. First, we'll deal with the most present thing, which is COVID, which COVID has completely taken over 2020. So tell me from both of your perspectives, um, how has COVID changed how frequently you're able to see each other?
Um, we see each other quite often since most of our classes are online. It was kind of different when classes were in session, like you had to go to class, because then we couldn't see each other because we was in class. But now since most of our classes online, we can like take classes at least in the same area, so we kind of get to see each other a little bit more. Our attention is still focused on the schoolwork, but at least we're in the same area.
Yeah.
Even before COVID, we would try to plan our schedules around lunches
Yeah.
so we could have at least a couple hours of the day where we were both not doing anything. We go
Right.
get lunch or something. So that perspective still hasn't changed. We
Right.
still try to plan our schedules accordingly, even since it's online. So
Understandable. And that kind of goes to the next question of how hard is it to balance dating while being a full time student? I know for me, when I was at SIUE, I was in the gospel choir. I was probably on the board every year in some capacity. I had a big friend group. I was in APO. Like I did all of these things. So it was very hard for me to balance my schedule. So tell me a little bit more about that.
um, finding the right balance is still a challenge, to be honest. Um, I am not the most organized, so I kind of play it by ear.
Right.
Same.
So it usually amounts to God first, church stuff, as long as it's, I mean,
Obtainable.
yeah,
Yeah.
obtainable. And then us, well, school, then us. So, I mean, it's managed to work so far. She hasn't complained a whole lot, but I mean, she's still with me, so it can't be that bad.
No, it ain't.
Okay,
It can't be that bad.
I'm gonna give you my perspective because
Okay.
he wasn't as active as I was. Of course, I was a part of the gospel choir, so like on Wednesdays was like our days that we both shared that would be free. But I'm in GC from 4 or 5 o'clock to about 8 or 9. Some nights, so it's just like I have classes in the morning and I got GC at night, and then I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I balance GC, my schoolwork, because schoolwork and I had a job throughout the week. So trying to find a balance between my studying for these exams and working and then trying to be active in other clubs and groups was really hard. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand. They look for bays and stuff in college just because it looks cute in the movies and it's cute on pictures. But the reality of it is it's really hard sometimes. Like for me, if it wasn't schoolwork as an issue, then it was a problem in our relationship or it was a problem in GC. Like something was always happening. It honestly took a lot of prayer,
A
a
lot.
lot of prayer and a lot of patience
Yeah.
for us to get to where we are. Because our schedules would be hectic. I mean, even if we saw each other one day out the week, it would only be for a couple hours sometimes.
If that.
Right. So
That's
it was rough, but because we loved each other, and because we prayed and we fasted, sometimes it worked out for us.
Listen, if that's not the most real thing I've heard, trying to find balance, and again, being an alum of GC as well, I vividly remember Wednesdays would be like, okay, I got class all day and work, and then I got to go to GC, and then after GC rehearsal, we got an e-board meeting, and then we got a bake sale
Right.
tomorrow. So everybody got to come to my house to bake cupcakes, and church kids when they get together, they want to sing and be loud and do too much. I remember one night my roommate came out of, we lived in Cougar Village. She came out of her room like, I love y'all, but y'all gonna have to shut up. And I was like, I'm sorry. Then I looked, it was like 2 a.m. But that's college life. Like you just never
Yeah.
know what you're gonna get. So um, I would like to know from the two of you, because you said you technically did not meet at school, but you connected on a romantic level at school. How important is education when it comes to choosing a partner, in your opinions?
Okay. For me, as long as you have some form of ambition, as long as you have a goal in mind and you don't mind putting in the hard work behind that, you don't necessarily have to have a degree, even if you go to trade school or if you run your own business, as long as you're doing something. Because me myself, I'm hardworking, I have ambition, I have goals. So if you don't, it's not gonna work in our relationship.
Yeah.
So I do believe education is important, especially getting some form of degree. But even if you don't, as long as you're doing something, and I can work with you, we're same minded, then yeah, it'll be fine.
True.
And tagging in on that, I am very much the same way. Education, in a sense, is simply just learning to me. I don't like sitting in a classroom. I've come to terms going to college that is not for me, but I didn't put in too much time to quit now. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish it. But they have to be doing something. They have to be growing.
Right.
They have to be wanting to better themselves and get ahead of the rat race, because us as African Americans are typically thrown into the poverty category.
Right.
I don't plan on being there for much longer if I can help it.
Listen, never going back, huh?
No.
Okay.
That's good. So I know you guys mentioned your degrees before, but kind of tell me, what do you plan to do with your degree once you graduate, and how does your partner feel about that? Like, how does your partner feel about your career path going forward?
We actually discussed how we feel about that. I don't think we have.
I mean, we talked about me going to grad school and about OT and all of that, but you never told me about, what you gonna do as far as engineering.
Well, up until recently, I really didn't know. Computer engineering, I could do a whole bunch of things. I could go into the software, computer science side. I can go into hardware. Right now, I'm currently leaning into network engineering. So it's the guys that are putting in routers and racks and running Cat5 cable all throughout buildings and such. So, I mean, pretty straightforward, pretty hands-on, which I really do enjoy, and they make pretty good money, so I can't complain.
So in my I guess opinion, I think whatever he puts his mind to do, whether he chooses to follow his career path or not, he's smart. I mean, more than he gives himself credit for it. Like I didn't know half the stuff he was just talking about, but he understands it. Like he could take apart a TV and put it back together, or if it's broken, he can fix it. So I'm down for whatever you want to do. I'm rolling with you. As far as me, I have to go to grad school in order to become an occupational therapist. And so he's been supportive since the day I made that choice. He was like, wherever you want to go. We're going to be all right. I'm going to find some kind of way for us to stick it out. Or even if we don't, I still want the best for you. And so when he said that, I was just like, oh my God, he really does love me, because some men could be selfish and be like, our relationship ain't gonna work if you have to leave and go to grad school, or if you're in grad school and I have a job, how is that gonna work out? And to have somebody who like understands that it was pretty important for our relationship.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Like, even at this stage, if you are not supporting your significant other or the person you're with, then what can they expect in the future?
Right. What future will it won't be a future if they ain't gonna be supportive of it.
Like, the smallest baby steps here can make everlasting impact on your relationships. So.
That was a word.
I think that's good. So, Lorenzo, I definitely relate to you. My degree is in English and language arts with a minor in Black studies. So, um, I'll be honest, I took that route as like I'm just ready to be done with school. When I started at SIUE, I wanted to be a psychologist, and then I got into psychology classes and I hated them, and I was like, this is not for me. So I was just
Completely
taking
understandable.
classes to pass time. And eventually my advisor was like, okay, you got enough classes to do something. What we doing? Um, but coming out, I was like, well, I can do anything with this degree. I could be a teacher. I could be a librarian. Like, it's so much random stuff I can do with this.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
do I begin? And it was a struggle for me because I was like, do I want to stay here in Southern Illinois? Do I want to go back to Chicago? Like, I literally had nothing. And initially, when I went to college, I was like, okay, I'm born and raised in Chicago. So when I graduate, I'm on the first thing smoking, back to the shop. But when graduation actually got there, I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to move back to Chicago. Because being an adult in Chicago is expensive and it's a lot
Right.
more than I thought. So, um, I don't know if you guys are both from Southern Illinois, but how do you plan to navigate like who moves or who stays after graduation? Because you guys are both coming up on graduation.
Um, at this point, wherever I get a job is probably where I'm going to remain for a couple years, just to get the experience and the cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
And after that, we can decide on a more finite place to stay.
Right.
I know she would really like to stay close to her mother, which is it's understandable, respectable. I would like to be in pretty good driver's distance from mine as well.
Yeah.
I also want to explore
Or
and go out on my own. So,
yeah.
what about you?
Basically, wherever the opportunity takes me, I'm willing to go wherever. Because it's not a whole lot of programs nationwide for OT. It's a good amount, but it's not like nursing, or it's not like trying to get or physical therapy. Even that, it's kind of more. It's only a few accredited programs in the nation. So wherever I'm accepted, I ain't gonna say wherever, as long as I can afford where I'm going and it's kind of close to home, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So if I get an opportunity and with that within that range, then I'm good. And then we'll discuss where we move from there. But when we get the opportunity, that's the first step, at least for me.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. So my last question, and this is to both of you. I just want to know what advice would you give to somebody who is in your shoes, who's in college, who is looking to date somebody else that is a full-time student? What advice would you give to them?
If they are the more on the more organized side, I would say get a joint calendar. That way you can see what your girlfriend, boyfriend is doing. You can know how long they're gonna be there. Not to sound crazy or anything, but you could plan things accordingly and not what's the word I'm looking for?
You basically know their schedule,
Right.
Yeah.
Not intrude. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Intrude on their schedule,
Their
their life.
life.
Right.
Ooh, if I could give advice, what would I say? I guess the main thing that like helped our relationship was that we were friends first. As friends, we respected each other as individuals. I respected his time, he respected my time. And then when we got together, like, we made time to be with each other. We respected each other's goals as far as academics. I'm more goal oriented than he is. So sometimes I need more space, or I'm more active than he is. So sometimes I need, more time to do other things. And so if he's my friend, he'll respect that first. You know what I'm saying? And then if you're friends, when you do spend time together, it's amazing. Like we'll run around the house and play tag for real, or we'll go to a concert. Like we have mutual things that we like to do, and we'll sit there and enjoy each other. Instead of having the idea like I'm dating him as like you're going to be my husband. I want to make you my husband or make you, you know, my future partner. Kind of with that thought process, I feel like you put a little bit too much pressure on the relationship, and college can break that because things change at the drop of a dime.
Quickly.
Like it won't make it, you know. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the main thing for us, we decided that if we weren't growing as people and in our fields, that we would just part ways.
Right, as individuals first.
Yeah.
If I'm not growing as me and he's not growing as him, we ain't gonna be no good for us as a unit. Like we're not gonna grow together. It's basically how we felt about it. So,
and it's been plenty of times where I had an exam the next day or had some next week, and I was like, "Hey, babe, I'm gonna go in the cave because I need to study," and she respected that, and vice versa. Having that understanding and being able to reciprocate that with whoever you're with is key to getting through college while dating.
Yeah.
So.
That is excellent advice. I am hoping that, because I'm a youth leader at my church, so I'm hoping that my conversation that is good advice. So, with that being said, first, from Things Exchange, I want to say thank you to Lorenzo and Alexcia.
You're welcome.
Best of luck with being spring 2021 graduates. We are
Thank
looking
you.
forward to seeing all the success that is to come. For our exchangers, thank you guys for tuning in and have a good day. Let's
You too.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.